Welcome to the Efficientpreneur Show with Ahmed Al-Karemli, where you learn how to build and scale your business profitability online with less time, effort, and cost, so you can enjoy a fulfilling lifestyle.
Hi everyone, AK here, and welcome to the Efficientpreneur Show. Today I have with me Anthony Amyx. He is a life and business growth strategist and the founder of Amyx Media. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Dude, thanks for having me, man. Excited to be with you.
Pleasure. So what's your story, Anthony? How did you get into this? You were a musician and then you moved to, coaching coaches to help them scale their businesses.
Yeah, man. So in the game of music, we kind of grew that band to a place where we had 2 record offers and radio play, and then just kind of the personalities clashing. We decided to call it quits in October of 2009 after we'd kind of climbed the hill or the mountain of, like independent music success. And so at that point in time, I was doing, of course, writing songs and performing and all of that, but I also did all of the business and marketing stuff. I designed all of our merch. I did all of our, we didn't really have social media, but did MySpace. Back then, that was kind of like Facebook somewhat in the music world, and did all of the tour logistics. I booked all of our shows, negotiated the contracts. And so at that point in time, I was like, well, do I build another group of guys or do I do something different? And so I chose to go into the game of social media marketing because I saw the opportunity, and it allowed me to be creative, allowed me to speak, allowed me to do a lot of the things that I like to experience as a musician. And so that's what led me into this game of coaching, was actually social media marketing. So when I made the jump from being a rock star into the game of social media, I grew that company where I had 23 clients on a recurring basis. And I hated it. Like, I liked it. I liked doing the marketing and selling. But when it came to the fulfillment, I didn't understand how to hire the right people or actually grow a legitimate company. And so I just totally burned out and burned it to the ground and hired my first coach in 2012, which was Garrett J. White. And Garrett proposed an idea, a perspective for me that I'd never thought of before, which was like teaching, coaching people to do what I was doing at that point in time. So I did. I created a small live event. I put butts in the seats, and I sold my first group coaching experience from the back of, or at the front of the room, so to speak. And then it's just been a leveling up process, man. And as I taught people the game of social media marketing, I started to see that there's one group of people who you could teach the tactics and the tools, and they'd go out and implement. And then there's another group of people that you would teach the tactics and tools, and they would go out and implement, and one would get results and the other group wouldn't get results. And so I hate when people, yes, it's a great question. So it came down to the life part, and that's why I dove into figuring out, the mind, our emotional fortitude, and all of these things, they work together to be able to create results, because one group of people can have the tactics and tools, but they have the right being, the confidence, the certainty, coming from a place of nothing to prove, nothing to defend, and they can create these lasting long-term results. And these other group of people, they're coming from a place where they need to prove how great they are because they don't believe it themselves, and they're looking for external results to be able to fill this void that's living within them. And as a result, in accordance with the law of being, the world continues to give them opportunities to prove, to strive, to hustle, to grind. And that's why most of them burn out, and they don't have this long-term lasting success. And so ultimately, my friend, that's what got me to this game of like life and business coaching, because I realized those of us who are living the good life, we're taking radical responsibility for, of course, our business, and we're showing up and we're doing work, don't get me wrong, but we're also making sure we're taking radical responsibility for every thought, for every feeling, for everything we're experiencing. And we know it's back on us to learn and grow and expand, and that's where we can start understanding we can make money and we don't have to work as hard because we're not striving and struggling to prove ourselves to people.
So you think it's the mindset game that people lack, or it's like, they are chasing money instead of fulfillment, or what it is?
Great question. Is it mindset? So mindset's a huge component, okay? So we have a cognitive awareness, which would be our mindset of who we are and how we operate in the world. And I can be cognitively aware of what to do, and yet internally there's still a feeling, an emotional trigger that I am going to react to that usually goes back to a lot of our childhood wounds and just deep wounds that we've experienced from traumas. It doesn't mean that it has to be some crazy, extravagant trauma. every human being experienced some type of trauma growing up or in their adulthood or whatever. And so usually it's diving into that, finding the healing where you can unlock that piece at an emotional level. I call this your body set. So you have your mindset, the cognitive awareness of how you think about the world, what you think about yourself. And then you also have the body set, which is how you feel in the world and how you feel about yourself. And then you have the skill set, the strategic action. When these three things are in alignment, boom, we can create a reality however we see fit.
What do you think, participate in having fulfillment in life? Like, there are different aspects or dimensions in life, so what are they? This episode is brought to you by the Efficientpreneur Club. The Efficientpreneur Club is a private and affordable one-on-one business coaching club for business owners and entrepreneurs who want to build and scale their business profitability and performance with less time, effort, and cost, and without risking their freedom. So whether you are still figuring out the right business model, strategy, and pricing, or you need help to improve your funnels, ads, sales, and conversion, then the Efficientpreneur Club is for you. Your business challenges are not going to fix themselves unless you fix them today. And the consequences of not addressing that today is your business profitability and performance will not improve, and your relationships and health will continue to be affected. It's no wonder that building and scaling a business becomes so stressful over time, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Efficientpreneur Club will help you take your business to the next level with a private and affordable one-on-one coaching with me personally, tailored to your unique needs. I will help you clarify your direction, set a strategic action plan, and guide you step by step to build and scale your business efficiently. The Efficientpreneur Club will also provide access to an extensive how-to video library, the most highly recommended tools, and a supportive community of like-minded business owners to help you along the way with feedback, encouragement, and advice. The Efficientpreneur Club is the perfect place to be if you want to maximize your profits, minimize your workload, and scale your freedom and efficiency. So check it out at efficientpreneurclub.com and say bye-bye to generic courses, secretive gurus, and expensive mentors.
For me, when it comes to game of the fulfillment, I found it's kind of like 5 things. I call it Thrive 5. So it's your faith, your family, your fitness, your finance, and your fun. Faith doesn't mean that it's different things for different people. I don't believe there's one path. I believe there's multiple paths up the mountain, and for some people it's science, for some people it's Jesus or God or Buddha or Krishna or Allah. It doesn't matter, but it's that connection to source where you have confidence and certainty in yourself to be able to create that result and be able to have connection to all that is, right? So figuring out a way to expand the capacity of that connection on a daily basis brings fulfillment for a lot of people. The other piece of that is the family piece. See, a lot of us, we want to go into the game of business, but we're having guilt and shame with our families. We think, well, one day when I make X amount of dollars, then I can show up for my family. And what happens is we carry that guilt and shame for us not showing up with our family into the game of business. It actually hinders our ability to produce financial results. And so if we will actually align with the truth of, hey, I'm not honoring my word as a husband, or I'm not supporting my wife, or the wife's not supporting her husband, or she's not admiring him, or whatever it is, and doing the deep work to find healing and connection there, what happens is we alleviate ourselves of guilt and shame, and we're able to bring a lot more power into the game of business. Fitness is another component. If I feel fit and healthy in my body and confident in my body, it translates into financial success, confidence, clarity, and the game of business. So it's the faith, family, the fitness, then we can show up and do work in the finances. And for whatever reason, AK, lots of people stop here at these 4 pieces. And as an entrepreneur, they think that the game of business is fun for them. And I truly believe that on one side of the coin, it is fun for a lot of entrepreneurs, but yet they rob themselves of fulfillment because before they were an entrepreneur, they did things that were fun that had nothing to do with business. Some of them went on bike rides. Some of them traveled to different locations. Some people went fishing or hunting or wrote a book or paint. Whatever it is, different things for different people. There's no right or wrong. But that other last piece is fun, figuring out what expands your ability, your capacity just to express yourself and have fun. Maybe it's going to front row at one of your favorite artists, that you've always wanted to go to. Or maybe it's going to some Airbnb just in your hometown and having a staycation, so to speak, where you're just unplugging from the game of work and hanging out with those that you care about.
Some people also mention like some other dimensions that participate into fulfillment, like giving back or like mission, vision, these things as well. There are some other component, just intimacy, which is mainly it's within family.
Sure.
You focus on creative entrepreneurs. What do you mean by creative entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so for me, the creative entrepreneurs are those people who are just creative, man. You know, a lot of the people I work with tend to come from creative backgrounds, whether they are musicians, whether they're into art, like they're just creative people, you know, creating visions, creating concepts. I don't work with any accountants or any things of that nature. There's very creative, expressive people.
So mainly coaches, consultants, or like any startup with like kind of a creative idea.
Yeah, pretty much any startup, any business owner with a creative idea. I mean, I do support a lot of coaches and consultants, but I've also supported people who are CEOs of a $40 million a year business and help them be able to figure out how to navigate a buyout of that business as well. So it's not just coaches, consultants, it also could be a CEO of a company. Granted, he would be a creative person too, because he took a concept out of thin air and created a $40 million a year company.
Mainly you do one-on-one, or you have group coaching calls, or like kind of a community?
Yeah, no, I do one-on-one is kind of where I find that I'm able to support people the best. The way that we kind of can do it at somewhat of a scale is once a quarter we do an event here in Dallas called the Uprising, and we support 5 to 10 people at a time coming in for a deep dive intensive for 3.5 days.
Okay, so I am a coach. Let's say I signed up for your coaching. How do you start with the creative entrepreneur or coach or consultant? You start from their life, from the business. What kind of questions you ask? Take us through the steps.
Awesome. So the first piece is clarity, getting clear on what do they want. You know, it's the first piece I ask people is, you know, what do you want? Why in the hell did you reach out to work with me? And usually most high achievers, most creative entrepreneurs will give you some surface level answer that they believe they should tell you. So my job really is showing up as the mirror to actually probe and probe and probe to really find what it is that they really, really, really want. So for example, I had a consultant come in and he wanted to do digital marketing to grow his business. And I was like, well, why do you want that? And at the end of the day, it was really about he just wanted to feel significant. You know, he could feel significant without doing any more work, because when we went down strategies to do more work, to build a bigger audience, he didn't want to do the work because he was already tired from all the work that he was doing in his existing business that was doing about $250,000 a year. And so we had to figure out the life piece for him of why didn't he feel significant. And here's where I think I'm a little bit different than a lot of people. I could show up and to say, all right, here's the map, my friend. We're going to go down into core power to making sure we're going to have massive amounts of confidence and certainty. And then we're going to dive into your messaging, and we're going to make sure your messaging is on point. And then from there, we're going to come into how do we leverage your business using ads and group programs or this or that to leverage your business at scale.
So you decided to go with the internet marketing to scale.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And then we go into sales. But if I don't take the time to sit here and be with you and genuinely understand, I would give you some roadmap that nobody's ever going to execute upon. It'd be a waste of my time, and a waste of their time, a waste of their energy and resources. So this is why I'm saying getting ridiculously clear on what they want and why they want and what they really want to experience is the vital step. And then from there, we can plug into that map of, man, this is a life piece for you. Let's deep dive into what's really going on. For him, it was an issue with his father. So I got him to go talk to his father to alleviate that in about 3 minutes. And then from there, life was easy for him. And what I mean by that is he'd had nothing to prove to his father anymore. Like internally, not just cognitively, because he's a very smart human being. Internally at his core, he understood, man, I felt comfortable in my own skin for the first time in 42 years. And from that place, he went and did the work of the marketing and sales. And he was able to generate.
Start with life. You eliminate any obstacles that they have or issues with their past, and then you move to the business side of things.
Usually, yes.
Okay.
But for some people, their life's in a good spot, and we just go in business.
We eliminated our issues in life, and now we are focused on the business. How do you start? Like you ask them to, first, clarify the brand or clarify the message or the audience, or where do you start?
Yeah, so start with the offering
Before
first.
this, before you answer this question, how,
Sure.
like, because of your background in social media, you started focusing on helping them with internet marketing and marketing online and scaling their business online, or how that worked?
Yes, you're correct. I started in the game of social media for sure.
Okay, so mainly you focus. Did you help some offline businesses, or you focus for business owners who want to scale online as well?
Great question. At the beginning, I started with offline businesses, teaching them how to use social media to generate leads. And then, like I told you, we grew that business to having 23 clients, and I got burnt out. And I realized I really like working with the people who wanted freedom. And so we started more going into the game of online businesses so they could be able to work from anywhere in the world.
So first, what's the first step that you identify or start with them?
Sure. So it's getting clear on their offering. What is the specific result that they produce for a specific group of people in the shortest amount of time? Lots of people come into this game and they have kind of a generalized offering or a generalized, type of package. And so I found out that if we speak to the specifics, that's what's really powerful. Because unless we speak to the specifics, we don't stand out in today's marketplace, because anybody and their mother can grab this little smartphone and create a brand and put out an offer and, from the palm of their hand. So the only way to get through the reticular activating system in our brains is to being able to speak to the specifics. So it's, I have the framework of we help who get what specific result. So what is the specific target market? What is the specific result we're going to get them? And then how can we start brainstorming some topics around even if you've tried A, B, or C? Like, what are some things that they've tried before? So we can start speaking to that. Or what are the withouts? Things that they don't want to experience. And so we brainstorm around that. Or we brainstorm around the while having. What are some other things that they're going to be able to experience because of the specific result? And we really craft that powerful headline and let that powerful headline kind of be able to position the offering in the marketplace. And that's really helping dial in the messaging. Every time I've helped somebody do this and being able to take their general concept down into a very specific direct response marketing, once they put it out there, it's going to get a lot better response. So the messaging component is first and foremost.
The offer first or the message?
The offer and the message.
Okay, the offer, how do they validate the offer? Do you ask them to validate the offer first before they go to the messaging, or how do you, what's the sequence?
Yeah, everybody I work with already has validated their offering. They're already sold their thing. They just haven't been able to really take it to a leverage capacity. They haven't been able to scale it.
You start with already established businesses.
Most of the time, yeah. And if they are a beginning person, I would do the exact same thing. Like I just had a coach come in last week. Same thing. We got clear on the offer. She's a life coach. So it's just like, what are the specific results we produce for people in the shortest amount of time? For her, it was helping moms being able to regain their confidence or certainty, being able to take back control of their lives rather than being reactive to their husbands, their children, etc. And I said, well, what are the steps that guides them from prison to paradise? So she came up with like 4 steps. We then did a 5-day challenge on Facebook where she just taught via Facebook Live. She pitched on day 5 to a time to talk with her. And a lady hopped on board on the call. She closed for $1,200. She got her first client for $1,200. Her mind was blown that it was that simple, And she was just clear on her offer. She really talked about the specific results. She, showed up and delivered value for 4 days and then just said, hey, if you like this and want to get the specific result, just shoot me a direct message. We'll hop on the phone. Got on the phone, close them via sales call, So it's really the same thing for startup versus a person scaling. And you ask, well, would I have her test? So my experience of having people test is a lot of people believe that they need to give their service away for free to validate the concept, to validate the offering. What I've learned is usually you don't find the best people when you give stuff away for free, because investment in equals commitment out. And so rather than giving it away for free, make that person pay something. So in Amy's case, if the price point was $1,200, if she wanted to, she could have said, hey, I'm going to early bird this. We're going to do some beta testing, and you can get in for $500, 50% discount if you hop in now as a beta. She could have done that. For her, I would rather her just pitch at full price and believe in herself to be able to deliver the results and do anything in her power to over-deliver to get that person that result. Because at the end of the day, I believe, especially if this game of service-based business, you either believe in yourself and your ability to produce the result, or you don't. And if you don't, then maybe you should go back to a course or school or wherever you're learning the skill sets of that game before you come into the marketplace to try to pitch and sell.
How do you see the market, like in terms of, gazillion coaches pitching $1,000 to $5,000 offers? Like, some people claim that the industry is very saturated and most coaches are struggling, and few will survive and most of them will not. So what do you think about the industry in general?
I would agree with you, buddy, 100%. The ones that are ridiculously good and can actually deliver that result will stay. And the ones that cannot, they will not. And I don't believe this is any different for the coaching industry as it is if you're a florist, or if you were a plumber, or if you were a roofer, or you were, a car dealership. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can produce results for your people and give them a great customer experience, I don't think you have anything to worry about as long as you understand the game of marketing and selling and keeping up with the changes and the trends of technology.
What's the best business model that you're seeing now with coaches working the best?
Yeah, great question. Really, I'm seeing intensives. And so intensives is like an in-person intensive amount of time together, because it's helping them collapse time. And it's also another way, besides that, using technology, is leveraging its scale through an online portal of content, using also some type of like chat platform like Slack to be able to communicate and have offer Q&A support throughout the time they're in the program, coupled with group coaching, coupled with also one or two one-on-one coaching calls. Because at this, you're giving all of this personal support, where if you're willing to show up and put in the work, there's no reason that you would not succeed, because that coach, that consultant, is doing everything in their power to provide you with the touch points to genuinely care about you as a customer, rather than being like, oh, yep, there's the online content, good luck. Because at the end of the day, we all have access pretty much to the same information. I mean, it's right here in the palm of our hands, right here at our fingertips. So what we're needing is coaches and consultants to come into the game to help us customize that information to our specific situations. Because my perspective on life is probably different than yours, AK. And you and I could consume the same information, and yet I may be stuck on how do I apply it differently than how you would apply it. And that's why Slack or those group coaching calls or the one-on-one coaching calls really make the difference in being able to apply that. So those would be, I would say, the two methods that I'm seeing. The intensives, if we're looking at one-on-one, high-level, collapsing time, you really can take a month's worth of content or results, or 3 months worth of content results, and get that in a day or two or three. And at the same token, you could leverage using these multiple touch points at scale to really be able to help people and facilitate them through the content very quickly.
Intensive, you mean the calls? Like, is there a specific number of calls that you recommend for coaches to apply in their packages, like 2, 4?
No. I mean, allow somebody to come spend 4 hours with you. Allow them to fly to your hometown and spend a day with you. Allow yourself to create a very small event for 5 to 8 people. That's 3.5 days, where you're completely giving them experiential learning to alter who they are at the very fiber of their being. It's allowing them to collapse time, because when you use experiential learning through a 1-day intensive or a 3.5-day live event, not in a big hotel room like an Airbnb, the people are living together, something of that nature, you're able to completely alter who they are and show up and use kind of your zone of genius to completely get them results faster.
How would you answer the people that says that this is not really scalable?
I would tell them they're right, and then continue doing what you're doing with courses, and that's totally okay. So I believe there's this myth in this game of entrepreneurship where it's like, oh, we got to make $1 billion. What if I don't want to? Does that make me wrong? What if I'm called to only help 10 people a year at a high price point or a low price point because that facilitates my lifestyle? Does that make me lesser of a coach? So the answer is no. The answer is get clear on what do you want to experience? How much money do you want to make? What lifestyle do you want to make? Not based upon what the industry is indoctrinating you on, but what you want to experience as a human being, and then craft that experience and go to work creating that because that's what you want to experience. And so for me, I'm at a place where I don't want to do a bunch of group stuff. I'd rather work with amazing, awesome people directly, whether that's in person or virtual, and have lasting changes in their fucking life rather than just giving them some program and saying good luck.
The answer is like what makes you fulfilled, like more than just like I'm gonna make more money. What makes you fulfilled, which is varies from person to person in different percentage for the areas that you have already mentioned.
Exactly.
Question about the niche, like most online experts like emphasize on having focused group or a niche or focused market or target audience. Like how about people who with broad focus, like they want to focus, they are life coaches in general, it's business coaches in general. Is it more difficult because of the marketing, like the niche is going to make it easier in terms of marketing, or how is it, can we start broad and go narrow, or we have to start narrow and then go broad, or what's your thought on that? If you have enjoyed today's episode, I would like to invite you to check out efficientpreneurclub.com. The Efficientpreneur Club is the right membership for you if you've been working to grow your business for a while now and things aren't happening as fast as you want. If you are tired of generic courses, secretive gurus and expensive mentors who charge $2,000 to $5,000 a month then fob you off onto sub-coaches or connect with you in group coaching calls. If you are already stressed out about your business model, sales, productivity, team and systems. If you are scrambling in the evenings and on the weekends and you never have time for yourself and your family. Those problems are not going to fix themselves unless you fix them today. Why? Because your business profitability and performance are not going to change unless you do, and your relationships and health will continue to be affected. Building and scaling a business becomes so stressful over time, but it doesn't have to be that way. The Efficientpreneur Club is a private and affordable one-on-one business coaching club for business owners and entrepreneurs who want to build and scale their business profitability and performance with less time, effort and cost, and without risking their freedom. The Efficientpreneur Club will help you take your business to the next level with a private and affordable individual coaching with me personally. I tailor the program to your unique needs. I will help you clarify your direction, set a strategic action plan, and guide you step by step to build and scale your business efficiently. The Efficientpreneur Club will also provide access to an extensive how-to video library, the most highly recommended tools, and a supportive community of like-minded business owners to help you along the way with feedback, encouragement, and advice. The Efficientpreneur Club is the perfect place to be if you want to maximize your profits, minimize your workload, and scale your freedom and efficiency. So check it out at efficientpreneurclub.com and say bye-bye to generic courses, secretive gurus, and expensive mentors.
My thoughts are start narrow. We live in a day and age where, again, it's the noisiest it's ever been. And so if you shoot a generalized, broad-based marketing message, no one listens. And it's not because that your product or your service or your brand isn't valid or it's not good enough. It's just not making it through the filter of people's reticular activating system in their brain, which is a legitimate set of nuclei that's filtering out what's relevant to their specific situation, And so I would encourage anybody who's in this game to ask themselves, what is the group of people that you produce the greatest results for? And craft that marketing message to them specifically. And this doesn't mean that you can't have multiple marketing messages to multiple fractals of your target market. You know what I mean? Go back to the roots of direct response marketing and speak directly to that specific target market that you want to help, because that's what's going to allow your message to be able to get seen. Otherwise, it's just going to get tuned out.
So basically you have different funnel for each specific messaging.
Yep. And the thing is, though, is somebody listening to this, I don't want them to sit here and be like, okay, well, I got 5 different avatars, so let me go build 5 funnels. I would ask them to look at their revenue and look at their 80-20, which is which segment of that is making up 80% of the revenue. And based upon that information, create one funnel and stick with it until it's working. And once it's working and it's sustainable, then move to the next segment and keep working on that one until it's sustainable and it's working. And now you have 2. And then once those are working, move to the 3rd one. But most people don't want to slow down to go fast, but this is what it takes to actually get long-term sustainable results, is your willingness to say, here's my long-term vision. It may take me 10 years or 20 years to pull this off, so let me start here at the core. And until I lock down this one vertical, and I'm known ubiquitous in this one vertical, now let me branch to that next succeeding marketplace. Once I'm known in that one, let me branch out into that next succeeding marketplace. And if you do that, that's how you, over a long term, you can start taking over that broad marketplace.
How about if I have different, various successes, but not with different niches, but I don't have enough data to focus on one? What should I do?
Pick the one that you love serving the best and that you get results in the shortest amount of time.
Okay. After you identify the niche, then what do you do in terms of marketing? Like, is there a specific platforms that you focus on currently, or you're expert at, or you recommend because it's working, or what do you do?
Yeah, my 2 favorite right now is Facebook and Instagram. I would say if you're B2B, LinkedIn's still a really good platform if you're B2B, But right now, if you're like B2C, then I would definitely say Facebook, number 1, Instagram 2, and then if you're B2B, then hop on LinkedIn. And it's like, well, once you have the market, what do you do? Well, figure out that headline of I help who get what specific, amazing, tangible results, even if or while or without, whatever those things are. Craft that headline and put together the offering, whether that's a PDF where you're using that to generate leads, running ads to, or organic, or whether you're taking people to, even a webinar training. And I know, lots of people in this marketplace, in the coaching consulting marketplace, say webinars are dead. That hasn't been my experience. My experience has been if you're running ads directly to a webinar, depending upon your industry, that the cost per lead can be quite expensive. But if you're willing to run like a PDF on the front end of that, to be able to reduce your lead costs and then retarget them to join the webinar, you usually can get that lead cost back down to under $10, and then your funnel is on point. There is
You mean paid, like a frame? What they call it, wire? What they call it, frame wire? What they call the term?
Yeah. So the PDF is just like a written document. So if it was like,
but is it paid or it's a free
free
magnet just to get the email?
It's a free lead magnet just to collect the leads, just to collect the name and email address, to get them into your email sequence, to get them into where you can push them into the webinar training, where you can start retargeting them with Facebook ads or Instagram ads.
Okay. Do you play on the organic on Facebook
Yes.
and Insta, or only ads?
No, I love organic marketing. I made a huge mistake last year where I put a lot of my emphasis on paid advertising, and I really reduced the amount of time I spent producing organic content. And it was a really stupid decision. And here's why. On one end of the spectrum, you have paid traffic that's bringing people into your ecosystem. But it's also your organic marketing that's nurturing these leads, and it's building trust and respect. And so when I was like only putting them in the front, and I still had emails going out to them, still pushing them to the webinar, and we still did really well last year, we would have done a lot better if I would have continued indoctrinating them with my organic content. Because what I found, like when I created my content calendar this year, went all in on creating my posts and doing like a post a day of really, really, really good content. And I mix it up. Some were personal stories. Some were like a pain problem post where I would point out a pain and then really uncover what the real problem that was going on for them. Some of them were case studies. Some of the pieces of content were authority pieces where I'm like 5 ways to do this or 2 ways to do this. Some were, like a PR piece, like where I had been on a podcast or something like that, and I'm sharing that, and I'm hitting my target market from different fractals, different angles organically the trust and respect went up, the consistency went up, and as a result, people were booking more calls completely from organic because they were starting to see and be touched in these different ways that created more trust and respect.
Do you share on your fan page or personal page because of, the algorithm of Facebook on fan pages is a bit, dead almost?
Yeah. Yeah, I did both, actually. And the only reason I did both is I didn't care if it was serving everybody. It's not reaching everybody, of course. It's reaching, like 1% of the people who like your page. It's pretty much nothing. But if somebody saw the lead magnet from my paid traffic, they're going to be like, who is this guy? Well, yes, you could retarget them, but more importantly, they're going to say, who is this? And they're going to go look me up and do their research and their digging. So they then will go find that Facebook page of mine. They will go through and start reading those different pieces of content that I've created, even though they're old. And as a result, that builds trust and respect.
So you post separately, or you post on your personal page, profile, and then you share it to your fan page?
Great question. Neither. I actually created the content from a personal page and published it for like 2 weeks. And then I kept publishing on my personal, but I took the posts that were 2 weeks old and then scheduled those to start going out on my business fan page, just as is, publish as is. So I pretty much duplicate posted, except my personal profile was always 2 weeks ahead of what was being published on my public profile, my page, my Facebook page. And so it was just the same content, but it's just multicasting it. My personal page profile always stayed ahead of the business page.
Why don't you share from the personal to, like, if it's a one piece of content? Actually, I tested that a little bit. I don't know if I'm right about it. Like, Facebook wants you to publish on your fan page, and then from there you share it to groups or to personal pages. But I did the opposite, and it resulted in better results. Like, I tested going on the fan page and then share from there, usually less engagement. But if I post on my personal and do the opposite, I share from it to the fan page, I got more exposure. With your testing, what really happened? Like, if you share it with the same content, same video, will have more views, or it's better just to post, as you said, after 2 weeks to the fan page?
Yeah, so I was not doing any video content. This was all just straight up long form written post, And so part of my strategy.
Let's assume if you are doing video, what would you do?
Well, if I was doing video, I would do what you're talking about, where I would share it to the page, so that way that social proof of what I've created would already be sticking to that video when I shared it, if I was doing video. The reason I didn't is, number one, I wanted to just write. I really felt led to just use my genius of writing and write. And so I wrote, and I really had a lot of fun doing that. Secondly, I wanted to streamline all of my publication time, So the only way I could do that is I would be able to batch schedule all of the content on my page. So if I had to share it all the time, well, then I couldn't streamline it. I can't set it to publish here and then at this day and time share it. I got to do that manually, and I just didn't have the bandwidth, and I didn't want to make the bandwidth to be able to do that. But to your point, if I was doing a video, yeah, I think your way of doing that would serve that video massively, for sure.
Are you using any scheduling tools like Buffer or things, or because Facebook don't like it, you just schedule directly?
I schedule directly for that reason. If you use a third-party app on Facebook to schedule content, they actually ping, your reach a bit. So it is better if you're publishing it in Facebook groups, if you're publishing on your page, just to use their native scheduler. There's no reason. The only planner I use is Planoly for Instagram posts, and that's just so I can batch plan and move everything around to be able to create, the little board how I want it to be. But that's the only planner that I use, man.
I see you're focused more on, like, you're converting most from strategy calls or from webinars. I noticed on your site you're more focused on strategy calls. So what's going on with you?
So it's a mixture of both. So all of the customers I work with, they come through a strategy call, right? So there's two ways they can get into that strategy call. Number one, they could come to the website and they could go through the proof page, go to the calendar, to go to the app, they hop on a phone with me. That would be one entryway. The other entryway is they're opting in for an audio book. That's my front end, that's free, and the webinar, that's free. And regardless of how they come through, I'm going to give them access to the webinar that indoctrinates them on my way of seeing the world, which then points them to a strategy call, which then we hop on a phone call and see if it's a good fit. So for me...
sorry to cut you off. The webinar doesn't pitch an offer. It pitches the strategy call.
Yep, it does.
Why have you tried pitching an offer directly and it didn't work, or what happened with you?
Great question. It depends on your offering, So my offering is not a $197 offer. My offer is a $5,000 to a $20,000 offer. So when you're selling something high ticket, you need to be able to talk to somebody. There's a lot of trust and respect that has to be established. I want to make sure they're a good fit. They want to make sure they're a good fit, so a phone call is relevant. If they're like some of my clients who are selling a $197 product, vastly different. I don't take them to a phone call. We organize their webinar to outline and sell that product right there on the webinar. We evergreen that thing, and they're able to spend $833 on Facebook ads that week and make $5,000 that week, completely from evergreen. They don't have to touch anything. We really scaled their business, adding about $150,000 just from that one webinar, selling a product. So it's just different.
What's the range of the price that works with webinar that you think?
Yeah, I think if you're selling something for like less than $1,000, you can definitely be able to pitch it on the webinar and sell. Definitely 500 or less, no brainer, guaranteed, pitch it on the webinar, sell it. $1,000, you better have a really good darn offer, you know what I mean? But it still can be done. I would say anything above 1,000, and people could argue with me on it. That's totally okay. I've met some people that pitched an $8,000 offer on the webinar and people bought, you know what I mean? They had a very large audience as well, so keep that in mind. But I would say if I had to broad stroke it, I would say if you're selling something above $1,000, take it to a phone call.
Is also in webinars, people are engaging with shorter webinars, or it's the same average 1 hour, 1.5 hour?
We try to keep all of our webinars down to an hour. We find kind of the hour seems to be that sweet spot.
Okay. Do you get into the technicalities of the webinar and funnel and these things and, the copy and...
Very much so. Yes. When we're working with somebody for the webinar, it's a very tedious process because, man, there's a lot of work that goes into creating a webinar that's going to convert. There's so much psychology to be able to stack in that thing to make that thing flow correctly, to be able to overcome the objections. One of the things I've learned in this game a lot of times is people think that a webinar is just like, well, let me teach some free stuff, and then at the very end, I'm going to pitch something. And I get that conceptually, but that's really not how the game works. It just doesn't seem to convert very well when you do that. Because what happens when you teach and teach and teach and teach and you give and you give and you give, essentially what happens is you give out a bunch of Band-Aids, and people are like, oh, thanks for the Band-Aid. I'm going to put that one on my wound. Oh, here's another Band-Aid. I'm going to put that one on my wound. And then they believe they can go off and do their life and they're healed, so to speak. They can get the results. And what happens if we're a course creator or a coach or consultant is we're doing them an injustice because by giving them the Band-Aids, we give them a false hope that they're cured. And that's not the case. And so what we have to do instead of that is rip off the Band-Aids, point out the wounds, align them with the truth, align them with what's the real problem that's going on, overcome their objections, and then also position the product as a solution that's going to heal them of their wounds. And as a result, that's what's going to be able to create those cells. And there's a lot of work that goes into making that happen.
Is it true that less teaching in a webinar will convert better? Some expert says that.
Yes, less teaching. But again, what is less teaching? So here's what I mean by that. People think teaching the how is the only way to teach. Sometimes some of the biggest, most valuable teaching I've ever given another human being is what and why. Awareness of what's really going on. So for instance, let's say they wanted to go to Los Angeles, and that's the result that they're wanting. It's like, I'd like to go to Los Angeles, California. And you teach them how to get there. Get in the car, shut the door, drive, fuel, all that stuff. But they think they're in Dallas, Texas. Well, the way to get to Los Angeles from Dallas, Texas is different than if the reality is they're in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So if I can help them see the possibility that they're actually in Santa Fe and get them to go, holy smokes, this whole time I thought I was in Dallas, Texas, but I'm really in Santa Fe, well, that changes everything. That, my friend, is value. That's one of the most valuable things you can bring to somebody, is the awareness of the real problem that's actually going on, because they think it's problem A, when in reality it's actually problem B. And if you can help them see that, that's value. And that's still teaching value as well.
So
It's just a
focusing more
different
on
way.
the why and what more than the how in general,
Yep.
and
Yep.
how to do things. Do you advise your clients to go live first for their webinars and then they evergreen it, or they can just record it and try to evergreen it from the beginning?
Yeah, great question. So we role play the webinar usually 2 times, sometimes 3 times before we ever go live with it, to make sure we dial in all of the nuances and technicalities.
So
But,
you and the clients just.
yep,
Okay.
yep. Actually, they'll just usually do it themselves on the computer, record it, shoot me the recording. I then go through the recording, take notes, give them notes. They then go do it again, do a recording, shoot me a recording, review it, give it back, and then they're usually good to go. And then we will do it live, because I want to see how it's going to convert with the real audience. So I feel like a lot of times people just go straight to evergreen, and it's a huge, huge disadvantage, because you don't really know if it's really going to work. And I don't want them evergreening something. So for instance, if they should be closing at 10% and they're only closing at 5%, well, they still made money, but there's room for growth before we evergreen it. And if their numbers are right, meaning their show up rate's right, if the stick rate to the close is right, and they're only closing at 5%, then that means something in the offer's not right. And so we have to.
The problem is sometimes the webinar is good, but like the audience or the offer. So how do you identify that, or test it or validate it before you go to the webinar stage?
Yeah, so we go through figuring out. I told you at the beginning of this conversation, we get who, specific result, we brainstorm all that headline stuff, and that's what we go with, and we really craft that offer. And then from there, we create all of the psychology to kind of hold up the offer and overcome the objections, and we ship it. And it usually always converts. So let me back up a little bit. So if somebody has a list, one of my favorite things to do is use Ryan Levesque's Ask system, which is just running a survey with the first question being, what is your single biggest challenge in getting specific results? And I have no clue what the list is going to say. But whatever they say, I then analyze that, and we really craft the offering around that if they have an audience. And every time I've done this, I haven't failed yet if I've done that correctly, because I just give them what they want. There's been times people have thought, well, we need to give them advanced Instagram training, and the results from the survey came back and they wanted basic Instagram training. So what do we give them? Basic Instagram marketing training. And as a result, we made $45,700 or $800 in 3 days from that $197 product. So just ask your people, and they'll tell you. And Ryan Levesque has a fantastic way in a book called Ask that teaches you how to do that. From there, that you're able to make sure, man, my webinar is going to be right. Like you know from the get-go that your offering's right. But let's say you don't really have the audience to survey. Then you just got to do your best judgment on, hey, I really think this is what they really need, because you've done a lot of market research, and you throw it out there and test it, and you start seeing, well, the offer converted at 5%. Is it an offer thing? And if so, you go back and redo the offer and go again. Is it an audience thing? If so, then you tweak that, and it's just going to be a tweaking and optimization piece.
I've noticed you have a big, Twitter following in comparison with your other platforms. You were focused on Twitter. Can you tell us more about it? And is it still working?
Yeah, man, great question. So Twitter used to be a social networking platform, just like Facebook or anything else. But that thing changed 2016, so almost 3 years ago, I believe. I may have my dates wrong. It may have been 4 years ago, but I believe it's about 3 years ago. And if you look up the Twitter application in your phone in the App Store now, it'll say news. And so it's just a different way, So for me, I did build up a really big following. I was generating a lot of leads with Twitter every single month from just publishing content, and I had a whole system about how it worked. But it's just different. Most people are going to be on Instagram right now, or they're going to be on Facebook, and so it's different. So the only way you can really use Twitter now, in my opinion, is just kind of being the voice of your brand where you're putting that out. maybe you could use it to drive traffic, and then you could retarget it, set up your Facebook pixel on your website. You're driving traffic to your blog from your Twitter, your tweets, and all of that, and then you're being able to build that pixel and then retarget them with ads. That's one way that you could use Twitter, but I would say I believe its heyday for really being a really wonderful marketing platform. I just don't think it's definitely not what it used to be, in my opinion.
Tell us more about your personal life, how your daily routine look like from the time you wake up until you sleep.
It's changing vastly. My wife and I had our first daughter 4 months ago, so our routine is vastly different now than it was. Thank you. And so currently the routine is, we get up about 7 o'clock, and then, we have a nanny that comes over. So by 8 o'clock, we give Zyra over to the nanny. And then my wife works from home, and she hits her job. And then I come over here to my office, hit a meditation for me, do some daily study, and then just do my work for the day. I'm usually done around 4 or 5 o'clock, hit the gym from 4 to 5 or 5 to 6, and then go home and unplug and I'm with the family. So it's just a really different kind of flow for us right now.
Any other hobbies?
Yeah, hobbies. We travel quite frequently. We love grabbing a random Airbnb and just staying the weekend in some really cool place. I love to fly fish. Spend a lot of time outdoors, really. It's kind of our hobbies.
What kind of tools that help you become more efficient at your work, or like some tools that you prefer, on your phone or your, computer?
So one of my favorite tools is Schedule Once. I think they just did a rebranding change to Once Hub or something like that. I don't remember what they rebranded to, but I like them for the scheduling platform. I know there's Calendly and all these other things. The thing I like about Schedule Once or Once Hub, whatever it's called now, is it allows you to, after somebody books, to redirect them to another page. So that allows me to point them back into my funnel. I could point them to a confirmation page, and I could pixel that, and I could build a custom audience around that. So I really
Calendly just launched that. They had this problem before, and I was struggling with it. But early last year, I think, or before 6 months, they launched that.
Good.
So you can redirect people. Okay.
Awesome. I remember when I was looking for one like 2 years ago, Schedule Once was the only one that did it, and I looked at pretty much every calendar tool. So I'm glad that Calendly is doing it now and catching up. It's awesome. So that's one of my favorite tools. Another one of my favorite tools is Insight Timer on my phone. It's just to be able to schedule my meditation, set my timer for 10, 20 minutes. Hit that. Other than that, I like ClickFunnels a lot. I use ClickFunnels for all my funnels. I've used lead pages before, but ClickFunnels seems to be way more intuitive. Those would be pretty much my 3 top tools, man.
Number 1 mentor for you.
Number 1 mentor. Man, I've had so many really good mentors. I'll give you my top 3 because I don't think I could give you one.
Top 3.
So my top 3 would be Garrett J. White, Jeremy Eugene Wilson, and a guy named Christopher John Stubbs. All of them have helped me radically. Garrett from a game of marketing and sales and understanding how this whole internet thing works. Jeremy Eugene Wilson was all about me just learning how to trust and respect myself again and shifting me from being a nice guy to a good guy. And then Christopher John Stubbs radically altered my perception of self and how just to love myself and actually being able to receive without having anything to prove to any other human being on the planet. So those 3 people totally radically transformed my life in amazing ways.
What's the best advice you have ever received?
Yeah, the best advice is something Jeremy Eugene Wilson told me, which was if you don't trust and respect yourself, nobody on the planet can trust and respect you. So this, for me, was huge. One of the reasons being is in this game of digital marketing, I feel like we try to put up this facade and tell people and convince people we're amazing. And as a result, it is kind of from our core, we're like, I must convince you. So the marketplace shows up wanting us to convince. So once I was able to take back trust and respect, the game became easier.
Great. Last question, how people can contact you?
Yes, thanks for asking. Just go to ajamyx.com, ajamyx.com, or just connect me with Facebook, facebook.com/ajamyx.
Thank you so much, AJ, for your time. Really appreciate it. Your valuable advice.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, and see you soon with another expert. Take care. Thanks for watching or listening. It means the world to me if you would leave an honest review of the show on iTunes or any other podcast platform that you are listening through. And big thanks to all the people who have already reviewed the show.
Discover how to build and scale your business profitability and performance with less time, effort, and cost. Check out efficientpreneur.com.